A narcissist will never hand you a red flag. They will hand you a crown. That is the part nobody warns you about. When we picture a narcissist, we picture someone cold, obvious, easy to spot from across the room. But the ones who actually hurt you don't arrive as villains. They arrive as the best thing that has ever happened to you. They put you on a pedestal so high, so fast, that by the time that pedestal turns into a cage, you're already too far in to trust your own eyes. And that word cage is the whole point of this video, because what you're dealing with is not a person who is simply mean. You're dealing with a cycle, a predictable repeating pattern that runs in 3 phases. First, they lift you up. Then they slowly tear you down. Then they give you just enough of the magic back to keep you holding on. Adore, devalue, repeat. And here is the promise I'm making you today. If you can learn to recognize the first phase while it is still happening, while it still feels wonderful, you never have to live through the second one. So let me show you how to protect your heart without becoming paranoid and without slamming the door on real love when it finally shows up. Let's start with phase 1, the pedestal. Think about how a healthy relationship usually begins. 2 people meet, they're interested, and trust builds slowly, like a fire catching one small piece of kindling at a time. There's uncertainty. There's a little awkwardness. You reveal yourself in pieces, and you watch how the other person handles each piece. That slowness isn't a flaw. It's your nervous system doing its job, checking again and again, is this person safe? Now here is what phase 1 feels like with someone who isn't safe. There is no slow build. Within days, they are telling you they've never felt this way about anyone. They call you their soulmate before they know your middle name. They want all of your time, all of your attention, all of you, immediately. They remember every tiny thing you say and reflect it back so perfectly, it feels like the universe finally sent someone who gets you. They start painting the future almost instantly, the trips you'll take, the home you'll share, the life you'll build, long before there is any real relationship to build it on. This has a name. It's called love bombing. And it works not because you're gullible, but because it is engineered, whether they know it or not, to skip past every check your instincts would normally run. So the first clue is speed. Real intimacy has a pace. When someone tries to fast forward through it when the declarations arrive before the knowing could possibly have happened, that is not the depth of their feeling, that is the size of their need. And the intensity itself is the tell. We're taught that the overwhelming sweep you off your feet beginning is the sign of great love. Very often, it's the sign of a great performance. So how do you test the pedestal before you fall off of it? I studied the way people who con others actually operate, the fraudsters, the ones who fool a whole room of smart people, and the same handful of tells shows up whether someone is raising $1 billion or sitting across from you at dinner. Let me give you 4, because they let you read phase 1 early. The first is an obsession with image over reality. A narcissist is not building a relationship with you, they are building a performance for you. Watch how much energy goes into the appearance of things versus the substance. Do they want to be seen loving you more than they actually show up, when loving you is inconvenient and nobody's watching? That gap between the performance and the private reality is one of the loudest early signals there is. The second tell is that they lie easily and calmly about things that don't even seem to matter. Most of us are bad liars. When we stretch the truth, our shoulders tense. We over-explain, because some part of us is at war with the lie. A narcissist often doesn't have that war going on inside. They can look you dead in the eye and tell you something completely untrue without a flicker, because to them, the image always beats the facts. Here's the trap that sets. We assume calm means honest. We think, they said it so smoothly, so surely it must be true. Unlearn that. A confident delivery is not evidence. Sometimes the smoothest story in the room is the one you should question the most. The third tell is that they have an explanation for everything. Every inconsistency, every broken promise, every moment that didn't add up. There's always a reason, and the reason is never really them. And each explanation sounds plausible enough that you talk yourself out of the doubt. So here is the single most useful tool in this whole video. Stop analyzing each explanation one at a time. You'll lose, because they are better at generating excuses than you are at cross-examining them. Instead, pull back to what I call the 10,000-foot view. Zoom out over weeks and look at the whole pattern from above. Ask one plain question. Taken all together, does this actually make sense? The individual lies can fool your mind. The overall pattern almost never fools your gut. That's phase 1, and everything I just gave you is a way to see it clearly while the crown is still on your head. Because here's what happens if you miss it. Phase 2. The cage. The love bombing was never the destination. It was the down payment. Once you're attached, once they're sure they have you, the person who put you on the pedestal slowly begins using that same pedestal as a cage. The praise gets rationed. The warmth becomes something you have to earn back. Little criticisms creep in, disguised as jokes or as concern for your own good. And you, still holding the memory of how amazing it was at the start, do the most human thing in the world. You try harder to get that first version of them back. That is the turn. Adoration was never the reward. Adoration was the bait. And this is where your most accurate detector finally speaks up, and it was never your analysis of them. It's your own nervous system. Ask yourself how you feel around this person. Not in the highlight reel moments, the grand gestures, the sweeping declarations, but on an ordinary Tuesday, in the quiet in between, with someone safe. Over time, your baseline settles. You feel calmer, more yourself, more able to relax. In the cage, it runs the other way. You catch yourself walking on eggshells. You rehearse what you're going to say before you say it. You notice you're shrinking, editing yourself, working harder and harder to keep them happy and to avoid the version of them that goes cold. That anxiety is not a character flaw you need to fix. It is data. Your body is registering a threat your mind is still busy making excuses for. Which brings us to phase 3, the one that explains why people don't just leave. Because they don't stay in the cage the whole time. Right when you're worn down enough to walk away, the warmth comes back. A perfect day. The old magic. Just enough to remind you of the pedestal, and then it's gone again. This is not random. It's the cycle protecting itself. Adore, devalue, then a hit of adoration right when you're about to quit. Psychologists call it intermittent reward, and it is the single most addictive schedule there is. It is the exact mechanism that keeps a person sitting at a slot machine. The unpredictability is the hook. You're not weak for staying. You're caught in a system designed to catch you, and there's a specific reason it catches some of us harder than others. Many of us, especially if love felt uncertain growing up, are wired toward what's called anxious attachment. When someone pulls away, we don't lose interest, we chase harder, reading the distance as a problem we can solve by earning our way back in. A narcissist is drawn to exactly that wiring, because it means every time they withdraw, you'll work overtime to win them back. Your instinct to love harder becomes the leash. So how do you become someone this cycle simply cannot get a grip on? You don't do it by getting better at spotting them. You do it by getting more secure in yourself. When your sense of your own worth stops depending on any one person's approval, the whole machine loses its power. The moment someone runs hot and cold, a secure person doesn't chase the warmth. They notice the coldness, and they quietly ask whether this is someone safe to keep letting in. Your standards become your immune system. Not walls, not suspicion of everyone, just a steady, non-negotiable sense that you will not abandon yourself to keep somebody who makes you feel small. To the cycle, a person standing in that place is almost invisible. There's nothing to hook, and there's one last test that cuts through all of it. Watch how someone responds the first time you have a boundary or raise a real concern. Bring a genuine worry to a healthy person, and they get curious, they want to understand, because your feelings matter to them. Bring the same worry to a narcissist, and suddenly you are the problem. You're too sensitive, too jealous, too much crazy even. Or they flip it into you and me against a hostile world, so that anyone who questions them becomes an enemy trying to tear you apart. That single moment, the first boundary, will tell you more about your future with someone than 100 perfect date nights. I know a lot of this is heavy, so let me leave you with the part that matters most, because the goal was never to make you afraid of connection. It's the opposite. If you've been burned before, you may have started to believe that intensity is love, that the roller coaster is passion, that the anxiety in your stomach is butterflies. Let me gently give you a new target. Real love, the healthy kind, can feel almost quiet at first. It feels steady, It feels like you're breathing slowing down instead of speeding up. It feels safe. And if the only love you've known was the pedestal and the cage, safe can feel unfamiliar at first, even a little boring, until you learn that peace is not the absence of a spark. Peace is the ground the real spark finally gets to grow in, so don't close yourself off, just get discerning. Enjoy the beginning of something, but keep your feet on the ground while you do. Watch the pace, zoom out to the pattern, and above all, listen to how you feel in the quiet moments, because your own calm is the truest compass you will ever have. If this gave you language for something you've lived through, or helped you see something you're in right now a little more clearly, do me a favor and subscribe. This channel is all about decoding attraction so it works for you instead of against you. And watch the next one, where I break down what healthy, secure love actually looks like day to day, so you know exactly what you're building toward. I'll see you there.